Welcome to Nugg Talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nugg Talk, bi-weekly now podcast, where we talk about everything going on in the NBA and everything going on with your Nuggets. I'm once again your host, Loki, here with Phil. Phil, what's up?
What's up?
You seem sad.
I'm just, Corona things.
Yeah, we're all inside still. It's fine. Do it to, help people out. But want to start off the podcast by giving condolences to Karl Anthony Towns and his family. He has lost his mother due to the virus. So we just want to send out condolences for that because, we're not terrible people.
Exactly. Condolences to Kat. It's really sad. You hate to see it.
Yeah, his dad's apparently doing fine, even though I think he also had it. But I think his mom had issues because she already had health conditions earlier. So that doesn't help. But again, condolences to her. Rest in peace to her. We wish the best to him during this time and anyone else who's struggling during this crisis. And then to get back into basketball news, we actually had some news happen this past couple of weeks. You guys say his name because I can't say it.
Arturas Karnisovas.
Yeah, he left us. He went to the Bulls. I can never say that guy's name, and I will never try to say his name. He went to the Bulls. He was our GM of operations. Obviously, Conley is the president of operations. And then he's now gone to the Bulls to do the same position that Conley has. He's the president of the Bulls. They're currently fired their GM. They're still going to keep their coach, apparently, Jim Boylan, who is probably one of the worst coaches that you've seen on Instagram because Zach LaVine keeps making funny videos for Instagram to see where he complains about them calling a timeout when they're down 10 minutes with 5 seconds left, where he complains just about him subbing him out when they're down, even though he was going off, all these things.
I think it's safe to say that this team's probably going to have to start over if they're going to want to be successful, or at the very least fire him. But if they're not going to, then I think they're going to have to trade at least Markkanen. I think that's almost a guarantee at this point.
Yeah, the report came out that Lauri Markkanen wants to leave if they don't change the direction that the team's going in. And the owner, for some fucking reason, really likes the coach, and he doesn't want to fire the coach, so Karnisovas, or whatever his name is.
Karnisovas.
He's not going to do it because he's not allowed to fire the coach. He did fire the GM. He also fired Scottie Pippen, who I didn't even know still worked for the Bulls. Apparently he was an advisor for the past 8 years. I had no clue.
News to me.
But yeah, so they fired basically everyone but the coach. And then for the GM position, they tried to get Calvin Booth, who is our understudy of Carson Novis, or whatever the fuck his name is, and Conley. All three of them have been here since Conley's taken over, so they've seen everything Conley's done. He tried to take Calvin. We said no, I'm assuming, because yesterday news came out that we're promoting Calvin Booth to the position that Carson Novis is. He's now our official GM, which I'm really happy about because at least we keep it kind of in the family.
Yeah.
The Conley tree still together. But overall, how do you feel about losing Carson Arturas, whatever the fuck his name is?
I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot over the last couple of weeks. I didn't want him to leave because he is a good exec, but at the end of the day, we still have the guy who's been making all the decisions. I've seen some things that say that Karnisovas discovered Jokic or whatever, but let's be real, that was luck.
Yeah.
I think I wish him success in Chicago, and I think he will find success in Chicago, and yeah, that's about it. That's about how I feel. I think Calvin Booth is a pretty good, would be a pretty good executive, and he could be a good replacement for Connolly if he were to ever leave. Hopefully he doesn't, but I think it's just the way this goes.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it previously, and I said, if we lost Conley the year before, like we almost did to the Washington Wizards, because they were almost willing to offer him a percentage of ownership to manage the team, which is crazy, then it would have been bad if we lost him, and then the next year also lost Arturas. But we kept Conley because he wants to stay, be a part of this thing he's built, and see it out, at least until, I'm assuming, most of these guys hit their prime. Then after that, a lot of questions are in the air, but hopefully at that point we're really good, better than we are right now. But with that being said, Arturas, when he left, like I was disappointed. I didn't want him to leave. I would have preferred they got someone else from another franchise. But he left. He went to do what he wanted to do, and it's a storied franchise, and you can't blame him for wanting to go and manage the Bulls, because if he brings them back to relevancy, that's really good on his career. It looks good on his resume. But like we talked about, Tim Connelly has had all three of these guys under his belt the whole time he was here. He made these decisions, all of them. He made the decision to get literally every guy that's on our team, whether it's Jamal, Jokic, Jeremy, Malik, Monte, when they were here, Juancho. All of these guys has been Conley, and they've just been kind of bystanders seeing it. Now, yes, Arturas had more knowledge of the foreign guys because he is a foreigner. So, like, he obviously knew better about the EuroLeague players. But at the end of the day, Conley still had to make the last decision. It's always Conley who made the last decision. So, as long as we have TC, I'm fucking happy and I'm fine with it. And talking about Calvin Booth, again, he's been here as long as all the other guys have been here. He's a 10-year vet. He's probably the best guy to take up Arturas' spot because he has a lot of experience with everything. He has a lot of experience with our team. He knows our players. He knows the system. He knows what works. He knows what we need to do to help Jokic. But again, at the end of the day, he's just a minor stepping stone in where Conley makes the final decision at end all be all for everything.
Exactly, yeah.
And I mean, it's not like they haven't made mistakes. We can obviously say that they've made mistakes. We shouldn't have traded the number 7 pick that turned in, or number 13 pick that turned into Donovan Mitchell. We shouldn't have traded away. Actually, no. I'm glad we traded away Rudy Gobert because Rudy Gobert caused all this.
Yeah. And let's be real, if we kept that pick, Nikola Jokic would not be our center.
And Jokic is better. So that was, in hindsight, better. But yes, we shouldn't have got rid of the 13th pick, which then they picked Donovan Mitchell for. Which in hindsight, I still say that we wouldn't have picked Donovan Mitchell. We would have probably picked like OG or a small forward.
Yeah.
But that would have been better than fucking Trey Lyles. So he's
Exactly,
made mistakes.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, good for Arturas. I hope everything goes well with him. If they do start trading away players, and one of them Zach LaVine, I hope he does us a solid, and I hope he calls us, and I hope he says, "Hey, can I have Gary Harris and Monte Morris for Zach LaVine?" I'd be like, yeah, go ahead. Because we're going to have to trade Monte Morris anyways. And Zach LaVine, even though he doesn't play nearly as good defense as Gary Harris, he's a way better offensive player and just a way better player in general.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, a lot of people were shouting for him to be an all-star. He averaged almost like 30 points a game this season, I think. He averaged like 27.
He was up there. He scored a lot.
And like that's, that's kind of something that the Nuggets could use right now. We could use a guy who will at least consistently go get buckets. We have Jokic for that, but again, we all know that he is a pass-first guy, and then everyone else on our team is mostly inconsistent. So we could use that consistency from a player. And it's time to keep consolidating. I think we have our core now, especially since we traded Malik and Juancho. We have our core. And now it's time to build on that core and even improve that core.
Yeah, I think it's this time. Like I said, if we could get Zach LaVine, we should, because he just would fit well with the team, in my opinion. And he wants to leave. He really fucking hates that coach. So if that's even a possibility, hopefully he does us a solid and he does that. Because now it's the point where you start looking into maybe trading Gary Harris, even though he did start playing better towards the end of the season before he got suspended. He still has been on a decline for the past 2 years, obviously because injury keeps hitting him, but he hasn't nearly been as good as he was 2 years ago, when a lot of people, including me, thought he was going to be one of the best two-way players in the league, and he hasn't been that in a while. So if you could get Zach LaVine, I'd say go ahead and do it, but if you can't, it is what it is.
It'll be interesting to see him on a good team too. Like, I think he was, I don't even know if he was on that team with the Timberwolves, right?
When they went to playoffs?
Yeah.
I don't think so, actually.
So we've never really seen him in a role where he's not like the number 1 or number 2 option.
On a shitty team.
Yeah. So, like, if he buys into that role on a good team, he could be a fantastic starting shooting guard.
Yeah, and I think he wants to be on a winning team.
He already is a good player. We know that.
Yeah, I think he wants to be on a winning team, and it'll also help his All-Star case, because I think one of the main reasons he didn't make All-Star, even though everyone who made over him obviously is deserving, he's not on a winning team, so some people take that into account for All-Star, even though I don't think you should for All-Star, but that's another conversation for later. But yeah, if he got here, I think he would mesh well with all of the guys, especially like Will and MPJ and Jamal. And it would just take him a little bit to understand how Jokic speaks. So once he figures that out, he's like, okay, we're all set. And imagine the lob passes from Jokic to Zach LaVine.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's pretty sick.
We would get the yammer that we talk about.
Yeah. We would have him to yam, and then he can also shoot the three. He'd be a good offensive pick for us, but obviously it would take probably giving away Gary Harris and Monte Morris. But I would say that's definitely a trade that's fine to do. I mean, even Bleacher Report said the Nuggets should trade Gary Harris and Monte Morris in a first-round pick for Drew Holiday, which, again, if we could bring that up, that would probably be a good decision to do, because I think everyone knows, especially in the NBA, that we're going to have to get rid of Monte Morris because he's a very good backup point guard.
He's a starting caliber point guard.
Yeah, he would start on any other team. He started on our team when Jamal was out, and he did amazing. He's going to get a max contract from somebody, and we're not going to match that, so we're just going to have to let him go or trade him for something. And I'm assuming Conley is going to do the same thing he did with Malik. He's going to trade Monte next year. So we'll just see how that goes. That's just an option. And then other news, that's just something we'll start talking about on the podcast going on forward, is tonight they're doing the MJ documentary, which I'm excited for. We're all going to see how MJ is an asshole, but also a very good player. I'm excited to see just what made him so great, his mentality, things about that. Moving forward, each week we'll do kind of like a review. I think they do 2 episodes a week. We'll review the 2 episodes, just talk about it on the podcast. It'll be something else to talk about. Tonight's episodes 1 and 2. Come back and talk about the next one, and also probably 3 and 4 if we're still doing bi-weekly. So
yeah,
but that should be fun. I'm excited for that.
How many episodes are in it?
8, I think. So should be a good amount. It'll be fun to talk about. It'll be cool to see. Because like I've seen old Bulls highlights, but you haven't ever really seen the behind the scenes. And it's always good to kind of see the behind the scenes and get a lot of details and interviews from players who were there.
Kind of like see how it went down in depth too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. But it's gonna be a lot of Jordan propaganda. So get ready for it. It's gonna make you love him more than anything else, because Bill Simmons came out and said he's doing this because he wants to end the debate that LeBron's better than him. Which in some people's eyes he is. Some people's eyes he isn't. It's up to your personal opinion. And now. I think that's it for everything news. Some of the other news is they said the NBA could come back now, but that changes like every other week.
It's not coming back. I'm just going to tell you all right now, the season is going to get canceled, and if they do replay it, it'll immediately start with the playoffs. It'll probably be a shortened playoffs too. That's my prediction.
And it's sad too, because the playoffs should have started yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday would have been game 1.
And we would have won game 1. Now, who knows if we would have won that series. I would like to say we would have, but it would have been tough for sure. Because we would have played the Rockets, which is unfortunate.
That would not have been easy, but you like if you win that series, then it kind of gives you a pretty good idea about what this team can do.
Yeah.
And that would be really good.
It's just literally that playoff track, if we did end up doing it, is the hardest playoff road for any team. Because we would have to play the Rockets, and then the Clippers, and then the Lakers. It's literally probably my pick for the 3 best teams in the West, even though the Rockets did do very poorly throughout the year. Those are the 3 most talented teams, like player-wise, because you have to play Russ and Harden, then you have to play Paul George and Kawhi, and then you have to play LeBron and AD. Literally, like most of the past MVPs, and then 2 of the top 10 players included in that. Like that's a lot. So yeah, that would have been unfortunate, but it's fine. What we have now to do is look back at old playoff series, which is what we did. We went back and rewatched, after watching us destroy the New Orleans Hornets. We went back and watched the series against the Dallas Mavericks in 2009, which was definitely a way more competitive series. I was 100% right on that statement. And we'll just start with your just general thoughts before we get into talking about each game.
Dirk Nowitzki is incredible. I felt like every time he even shot a jump shot in this series, it was not only did he make it, it was just like a swish, barely touched the net type of swish. It's pretty impressive to watch one of the best players, definitely like the best European player and one of the most unique players in his prime. It was really something to watch. The way he plays is just really cool to me, and it just shows like why he made it to the finals twice, won an MVP, and won and got a ring. He's definitely the best European player of all time, and if Jokic can even come close to what Dirk looked like in that series against us, I'll be so happy.
Yeah, because Dirk was dominating. Like, Kenyon Martin and Chris Anderson did their best to at least like slow him down and frustrate him. Mainly because Kevin Martin would just fucking deck him. Like, literally in the first game, he decks him into the stands. He pushes him around. We knock him on the floor. We keep trying just to put a body on him and be physical. And that's my general takeaway from this series is this team is way more physical and way more aggressive than our current team. And we talked about that right now. And we don't like to throw around the words that they're soft, but our current team is kind of soft, mainly because they're young and they don't have a lot of playoff experience and they don't understand, like, you got to sometimes just be physical with people. But, like, this series was very chippy. It was very dirty. There was a lot of shit going on.
There was some cheap shots.
And we were a physical team. Like, and we play physical defense. Like, when we double team, like, we're aggressively double team. We're not just kind of hesitating with it. We're like, we commit to whatever we do defensively. So that was my main takeaway from this, is just seeing how much more physical this team is and that how much our current team needs to take in that mentality. Now, granted, that mentality came from Chauncey Billups bringing that mentality. And I think, as you saw, when Paul came to the team, we got a lot more defensively focused, but wasn't physically defensively focused. We're just a really good defensive team now because we guard the three well. I think we need to bring another guy, like you talked about, like a dog or something like that for our current team to make them physical, because we're just not a physical team. We get pushed around by, good teams and bad teams alike. We lost a lot of bad teams. But yeah, overall in the series, I think obviously same takeaway as you. Dirk is amazing. Definitely Hall of Famer. Definitely one of the best Euro players of all time. And it's just kind of crazy because, like, I saw him for most of his career. At the very beginning, he was an athletic guy. He was dunking. He was doing this. And then he just turns into this finesse player that no one can guard. And this isn't even like the best Dirk. The best Dirk's 2 years later when he goes on his run against, the Lakers, the Thunder, I think the Spurs too, and the Miami Heat, and wins the championship. Like, that Dirk was on fire. He didn't miss anything. He hit threes like no other. You couldn't stop him. No one could stop him. And we were lucky we didn't have to deal with that Dirk, even though you could see flashes of that coming. My other main takeaway from this too is Jason Kidd. I don't know what happened in this series. He was trash. I don't know if it was just Chauncey played really good defense or what.
Especially in Denver, he was just horrible.
He was awful in Denver. And 2 years later, Jason Kidd's one of the best players in the league again. I don't know if it's like a health regimen change or he started training or maybe they started benching him during the regular season so he doesn't look tired in the postseason, but he was awful in the series. He did not play well at all. He would hit a three here or there, but for the most part, like, he was getting outclassed by Chauncey Billups. And then the last thing, Carmelo Anthony popped off in this series mainly.
Melo was really cool to watch too.
Yeah, this was Melo's coming out party. In the first game, he didn't really play super well, but after that, he just kept fucking scoring. He averaged 30 for the series. I don't ever see us having a 30-point scorer in the near-time future. Hopefully, MPJ, he's the only person I think that could do it.
Yeah. Unless Jamal has a Steph Curry jump.
Yeah, unless Jamal does that. But Jamal is just going to be either the second or third option. MPJ has the opportunity to be their first, second, or third.
Yeah.
We don't still know.
We have no idea, but he could be all three or he could be none of them.
Yeah, so it's a wild card with him. But that's why I say he could average 30. We all know Jokic can't because Jokic is too much of a passing, pass first kind of guy.
I am perfectly happy with Jokic scoring 20 points a game in this season, as long as he obviously gets the other statistics up. I still actually think it's quite possible that Jokic will average a triple-double in his career. this year was further away from it than I think we both expected.
Yeah, I mean, well, he had his,
but he always has his slumps.
He had his fat slump.
But I still think it's very possible he has the ability to do it, and that's pretty cool. I would love to have a player average triple-double.
If he did that, that'd be sick. I mean, I think he was close to averaging 30 points in the series against the Spurs and the Trailblazers. Like, he was really good. He had one of the best playoffs of any first-year player in the playoffs. But Carmelo was just on another level in this series. He was keeping up with Dirk Nowitzki, even though Dirk was averaging near 40. He was like a 35 average, which is insane. And we were playing good defense on him. But, yeah, I mean, overall, I think the series was fun to watch. It was cool to see us play defense. And we'll get into the games now because the games were very close. At least the home games were close for 3 quarters until the 4th quarter when we kind of ran them out of the gym because it's hard for people, especially back then. We were one of the fastest paced teams. So especially for an unathletic team like the Dallas Mavericks to kind of keep up with us for 4 quarters in Denver, it's pretty hard. They did for 3 quarters, though. So we won the first game, 109-95. The best player was actually Nene, who popped off for 24 points. Carmelo had 23, but it was a pretty inefficient 23. Chauncey actually didn't play that well. He had 6. JR came off the bench at 15. Chris Anderson had 11. And Anthony Carter had 12. Our bench actually came and won this game for us with Nene. What were your thoughts on the bench guys, though? Because this was their game.
I mean, I think it was actually pretty cool to watch. I mean, Anthony Carter, I'll be honest, I never really loved watching him, but he's solid-ish backup. He had a good game. That's fun. J.R. Smith is always fun to watch, especially when he's hitting. He just gets really pumped. After he makes a 3, you can just kind of tell he's like, all right, I'm just going to keep shooting.
Yeah, he's going to keep shooting.
And he does, and if it goes in, then that's awesome. Birdman, always a pleasure. I don't know which game it was, but there's a game that we're going to talk about where he just completely just blocks the crap out of Dirk.
I think it was game 2. I think that was the one.
Well, I'll talk more about it when we get to it. But yeah, it was cool, and Nene impressed me. I guess I basically, because this was kind of like my some of my first exposure to the Nuggets, and I basically watched all of Nene's career, and I just don't remember. I just completely forgot how explosive he used to be.
Yeah, dude, he dunks hard. He fucking goes to the rim hard. He tries to dunk. He tries to yam, which is surprising because he's a big fellow, but he tries to yam it.
He's got some finesse to his game, too. I really like it.
Yeah, he actually has a lot of Jokic moves. He just doesn't finish.
Exactly.
There's a lot of times where he'll do a really good move, and we're like, oh, shit, and then he just doesn't. He misses it. But it is what it is. Overall, they played really good. Like I said, it was close for 3 quarters. Then the 4th quarter, we go on like a 14-4 run or something like that. And we just pop off. That run mainly was started by J.R. Smith and Carmelo, because Carmelo, for some reason in this series, just kept popping off in 4th quarters. I don't know what it is. Something just clicked in his head. And, I mean, he is one of the most clutch players, I will say, in the NBA, because he hits a lot of game winners. He's very good at that end period, but this was different. He was hitting just tough shots and making sure we blew them out, and we did, which was good to see. And because we blew them out, they kind of just gave up on this game, moved away. But a lot of people on the Mavericks sides were pissed at the beginning because we talked about it earlier in the podcast. Kenyon Martin did just push Dirk Nowitzki into the front row on the baseline for no reason, just because Kenyon Martin's a dick.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he'll admit that he is, because that's what's his role, basically, just to agitate and make the star player, if they're a big man, upset, and he just pushed the guy. But Dirk kept going. He had 28. He played really well. Something that really did help us is Josh Howard, who was probably the Dallas Mavericks' second best player, if you don't count Jason Terry. He got hurt. He rolled his ankle in this game. He came back, but after that, you could tell he wasn't the same. And he had the main goal of guarding Carmelo. I think when he got hurt, it helped Carmelo loosen up a little bit, because, again, it wasn't a very efficient game from Carmelo at the beginning. But overall, I think main takeaway is just, protected home court. It was good. And, you just got to move on to the next one and do it again. And that's what we did. The next game went literally exactly the same. It was 3 quarters of very close, intense basketball where they were keeping up with us. But then again, we just kind of took it away because we're just a very, aggressive team in the fourth quarter. And we also just run at a very fast pace. We won 117-105. The best player in this one, again, was, I think, a mixture of Nene and Carmelo, who each had 25. Nene popped off in these first 2 games. I would say Nene is the person who impressed me the most in these 2 games because this was kind of his coming out party. He wasn't officially like the Nene you know of if you watched him in like 2013, 2012, like with Ty Lawson and those guys before he got traded for JaVale McGee. Now looking back on that was really bad.
That was an awful trade.
We just really believed in Kenneth Faried and JaVale. But yeah, Nene was really good. He came out in the series. And then Carmelo actually played really good. It was 25. Chauncey had 18. He popped off 2. Kenyon had 12, which was kind of surprising. J.R. Smith had 21, though. J.R. Smith didn't miss a fucking 3 for a long while. I think he was 3 of 7, but it was pretty good. Like, at that time, that was pretty good. What were your thoughts on the second game? This is the game also where I think Birdman blocks the shit.
Okay. Is this also the controversial one? Or is that game 3?
That's game 3.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember like Dirk goes up for a shot, like a shot that you kind of expect him to just swish every single time, and besides this one, it felt like he did. And then Birdman just comes up and just completely meets him up at the top and just completely erases it. Like it just goes in the opposite direction, and it was just one extremely impressive block. And it was really, really cool to see, and just his reaction to it afterwards. He just stood there because he just knew what he just done.
Yeah, I mean, Dirk, I see where Jokic gets it. Dirk also, I realize, complains a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Dirk complains a lot. Anytime something happens when he's in the post and he loses the ball, he's yelling at a ref. I think it's just a European thing.
It is. Every European does it.
I think it's just a European thing.
Every NBA player does it, but
true. But the difference between an NBA, like an American, and a European is a European will stay at his half court and yell at the ref.
Yeah.
And an American will run back and yell at the ref. Because Dirk did the same thing where he wouldn't Dirk run back on defense.
And is just talking, yeah.
But yes, Pierce Anderson blocked the shot out of him. Kenyon Martin also blocked the shot out of him on his unblockable shot, which was kind of insane. Like, he does a fadeaway. Kenyon guesses the direction he fades away and just blocks it and grabs it and just takes it away. And like I said, he played really good defense. This was the series you needed Kenyon Martin and Chris Anderson for, and they played really well. So you take that as well as you can. And Chauncey, it's just classic Chauncey, even though he shot 1 of 8. Oh, no, he didn't shoot 1 of 8 from 3. Carmelo shot 1 of 8 from 3, obviously. Chauncey shot 4 of 9 from 3. Chauncey, just whenever you needed 3, he usually hit it. So that's like the nice thing about him.
Chauncey's clutch.
That's why they call him Mr. Big Shot, because he always makes clutch shots when you need it, and he plays really good defense. And again, the main best player for them was Dirk Nowitzki. He had 35, but Jason Terry also really popped off in this game. He had 21. And that was the thing of this series is like we have very similar teams. The only difference is our 1-2 punch was better because Chauncey was better than Jason Kidd. Mm-hmm. And also our team is just way more athletic than them. Their team is not athletic at all. There's no Eric Dampier can't do anything. Josh Howard was hobbled. Jason Kidd's older than Chauncey and definitely still less athletic than Chauncey. Dirk Nowitzki is not an athletic person.
No, he's not.
He used to be, but he's not anymore. Jason Terry is, but he's small. JJ Barrera is, but he's small. Brandon Bass didn't really pay that much. They have Gerald Green, and they just never used him. So that was a hidden gem that I think they just never used that they messed up on. They also had Ryan Hollins, who we didn't even know they had Ryan Hollins, but he sucks.
He's just as bad on the court as he is on TV.
Yep.
So
I don't know.
That pretty much tells you all you need to know.
Nene just schooled him. Nene schooled him so much that they stopped playing him. Yep. Like he was like, okay, we're not playing Ryan Hollins anymore because he was goddamn awful. And also he did a lot of cheap shots, Ryan Hollins. He kept getting in fights with Nene, Kenyon Martin, who's the worst person to get in a fight with because Kenyon Martin will kick your ass.
Kenyon was ready, too.
Kenyon Martin almost kicked JR's ass because JR put popcorn in his goddamn car this season. Like, he's going to kick your ass if you're trying to fight with him. But, yeah, no, Ryan Hollins was ass. But another funny thing that came out of this series is Phil didn't really pay much attention back in the day. And he only knows Rick Carlisle as bald Rick Carlisle. He saw Rick Carlisle with hair and he couldn't stop fucking laughing.
It was so funny. It was such a surprise to me because I didn't know that Rick Carlisle has been coaching them for this long.
Yeah.
And to see that he had like a hair, maybe it was a toupee, who knows? But
definitely.
but it was just really because Rick Carlisle has this nice shiny bald head now, and then we go back to 2009, and he's got a comb over, and it was really a delight for me to see. I have no explanation as to why, but it was fun. It was fun for me.
I mean, it was just really funny because you can't stop laughing at it every time you saw it, and I don't know why.
I don't know either, but it was such a shock to me. I don't know. It was funny.
Like that was the thing you noticed. The thing I noticed is that their assistant coaches have all gone on to be actual coaches. Like his assistant coaches at the time were Dwayne Casey and what's the coach for Portland?
Terry Stotts.
Terry Stotts, and they've gone on to be very successful coaches. So Rick Carlisle already has a coaching tree, and that's kind of crazy because he hasn't even really retired yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rick Carlisle and Eric Spoelstra are the two longest tenured coaches still. It's just funny that you didn't know he had hair.
I did not.
You just thought he was bald.
I didn't even know he was the coach back then.
True. Yeah. But no, he's been a coach for a while. But that was another thing too that I also took away from this. George Karl at the time was a better coach than Rick Carlisle. Mm-hmm. Rick Carlisle still didn't have enough experience yet. I think he was coaching for like 2 years at that point, but George Karl was coaching for way back since like the 90s and the 80s. So he had way more experience. He knew what to do. Sure. He knew adjustments to make. And Rick Carlisle didn't. Rick Carlisle didn't make an adjustment to his starting lineup until Game 3. And it wasn't even a good adjustment. He put in Antoine Wright instead of Jason Terry, which I would have put Jason Terry. He put Jason Terry in Game 5, which didn't help out because we were at home and we were going to win that no matter what.
But Terry played well when he played. So
yeah. But that was definitely one thing that was also in our favor. Other than just the athleticism, our coach was better than their coach. And now we get into the most controversial game of the series. I think the game, still maybe to this day, that has the most fouls called in a playoff game.
Oh my God.
There was 56 fouls called, I think, in this game.
56?
Maybe even more. I could be a little bit off.
That's crazy.
But there was a lot of fouls called in this game. Me and Phil watching this game was exhausting, to be honest. It was a great game, but it went on forever.
Yeah. And so we watch it. Obviously we can watch it on YouTube, and there's no ads, no halftime show. So nothing. It's supposed to take probably like an hour, and I feel like this one was like almost 2 hours.
It took like 2 hours, probably 2.5 hours, because there was just so many fouls. The refs called everything. Chris Anderson fouled out in this game. Nene almost fouled out. Chauncey almost fouled out. Carmelo had a lot of fouls. On their side, Dirk got a lot of fouls. Their centers got a lot of fouls. Jason Kidd. Everyone got fouled in this game. Another really close game all the way through. Best player is obviously Carmelo Anthony, which we'll get into. But Chauncey also had 32 to help add on. Kenyon had 12. JR had 10. Dante Jones had 8, which is always nice when you get at least something from Dante Jones.
Yeah.
And then their best players were obviously, again, Dirk, who had 33. Jason Kidd played better at home. He had 13. Josh Howard had 14. Jason Terry, again, 17. Brandon Bass, 16. But the key to this story, and this is why Carmelo was the MVP of this game, is they're up 2 with, I think, 10 seconds left in the game. We call a timeout. We come out with a timeout. Everyone knows that they're going to foul because they have a foul to give. So obviously they're going to foul once, a couple seconds have ran off. We pass it into Carmelo. He takes us to the right side. They're about to foul when there's 6 seconds left. Antoine Wright literally grabs Melo with his left-hand arm. The rest, for some reason, don't call it. Carmelo keeps playing, shoots a 3, and scores, and we go on to win the game. And I've never seen Mark Cuban more pissed in my life. A lot of Dallas players tried to fight the refs.
Yeah, there was a lot. They were like screaming.
Yeah.
Even Kenyon Martin had to come over to, I think it was Josh Howard.
Yeah.
And
try
and calm him down. Kenyon Martin
was trying to protect the refs. Just know how much of an anomaly this is. Also, funny thing is, I totally thought this was Game 4. So when this happened, I just laughed because I remembered the play so vividly that when it started to happen, I was like, "Oh shit, it's this game!" Because I lied to Philip and I said it was Game 4. It was Game 3.
It was something to watch.
But how was that game for you as an experience? Because it must have been not as fun when you know the outcome.
It was nuts. The officiating, let's be real, was pretty awful. It was
terrible.
Game.
That was one of the worst officiating games ever.
That was just the cherry on top to the bad officiating, is just to see that blatant no call on an intentional foul.
Yeah, like he literally smacked him.
It was so obvious, and they didn't call it. And I guess as a Nuggets fan, you take that, but wow, and I don't blame him for being pissed. It was an awful call.
It's an awful call. We should have lost that game. 100%. We probably should have lost that game. But awful calls help you sometimes. Not as much as of late for us, but hey, back then the refs, I guess, were on our side. Because I don't know what the fuck they were seeing. There's literally a ref right there where the contact happens, and he just doesn't call it. I don't know how no one got suspended from the game, anything like this. But it was insane. My memories of it as a child was like, fuck yeah, we fucking won. Let's go. It's 3-0. They're not winning. It's over. I didn't understand how much they got kind of screwed over, even though I knew it was a foul back then. But I was just like, wow, if I was me on the Dallas side, I'd be fucking livid.
Oh, yeah, I would be so pissed.
That's an insane call to miss because he meant to foul him on purpose. And they're even telling the ref, he's going to foul him, and they just don't call it. But that shows you how clutch Carmelo is, because most people, even when that happens, they probably stop. They'd be like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. They wouldn't try to shoot and go for the win. Carmelo just played through it and just took a 3 and nailed it, which was really clutch of him. It's probably the most clutch shot of his career. And it ended that series for the most part because you're not coming back from a 3-0 deficit. No one's done that.
No way.
Especially after you lose like that. You're just kind of... You lost your soul after that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure Mark Cuban tried to do some litigation behind this, change the ruling, stuff along that. Mark Cuban was going off after this. And another crazy thing about this game too is right before this game, and I completely forgot this. Apparently Dirk Nowitzki's ex-girlfriend, I don't think it's his current wife, was stalking him and got arrested 2 days before this game. And that's all people were asking him. And he was just like, I just want to play basketball. I don't want to deal with this crazy bitch.
Don't want to talk about that.
So good for him to go through that and still score 30.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But overall, the game was just insane. But the other highlight was Chauncey for sure. I think Chauncey did really good. Was there any other players in this game that you saw that you were like,
man.
Good shit.
Was this a game that JR played really well in?
JR had let me go back. He had 10, so he played decently in this.
Yeah,
He had 1 3. He did enough. He played good D.
And no one is really jumping off in my brain right now, but it was just a pretty solid all around performance. Such a weird game.
It was a very weird game. Yeah, the one person who definitely got screwed in this game was Chris Anderson, even though he did a lot of fouls that he deserved. But he got fouled out super quickly, and that definitely affected us and why we didn't play as well. Because when you don't have literally your best rim protector, it makes it a lot easier for other guys other than Dirk and Jason Terry to score, because they can get into the rim and they can score off of whatever Dirk and Jason do. So that didn't help us at all. But overall, you take the win, even though we definitely didn't deserve it. The refs are bad. That's what it shows you. Even back then, 11 years ago, still bad. So take that, Damian Lillard. They still suck. And then the next game, we didn't watch because very poor quality. We're not going to watch a video in 240p. But I'll give us just a synopsis of what happened. Again, another very close game. Went all the way down to the wire. we end up losing just because we blow last couple of plays and Josh Howard kind of takes over and Dirk, ends it as well. But the score was 119-117. The main takeaways from this game is they retaliated a lot in this game. There was 2 flagrant fouls, one on Josh Howard and one on Jason Terry, mainly just because they were fucking pissed. And they were like, fuck you guys for taking that game. They probably in today's NBA would have got thrown out and also would have got suspended. Now they won it. But back then, back then they would. They wouldn't. Now they would. But it's fine. We lost it. It didn't really matter because we basically had the series. Best player in this one was Carmelo. He had 41 and 11, so a double-double. Chauncey had 24. Dante Jones had 10. J.R. Smith had 19. And then Dirk had 44, I'm pretty sure. Josh Howard had 21. Jason Terry had 12. Brandon Bass had 11. J.J. Barea had 10. So you didn't see this, but overall it was a pretty good game. It was a good battle between Dirk and Carmelo. We just sadly ended up losing. But knowing that there was flagrant fouls in the retaliation, do you think it was warranted?
I mean, no. It's not the player's fault that the refs fucked up. But this game has been like physical the entire series. I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like they're aggressive to each other.
I like this brand of basketball. I wish there could be a little bit more of this in the league today, but the league's gone a little soft.
It's gone a little bit softer. You can't do it as much. But this game was definitely chippy because of the fouls, but also off the court. Apparently, a lot of Dallas Mavericks fans were not like physically attacking, but threatening and verbally attacking Nuggets family members. So there was that also happening as well. There was just a lot of, vulgar statements said at a lot of Nuggets family members, so much to the point that it became like a very heated thing to where when the Mavericks came into Denver, they were kind of scared for how Denver fans would react. Obviously, they don't know that we don't really give a shit that much, but they thought we were going to retaliate in an aggressive way or manner, but we're actually civilized people. Yeah. So we didn't, but they brought security to Game 5 to protect themselves, and they also told none of their family members to come to the game. The only family member who did was Jason Terry's mom, because Jason Terry's mom goes to every single game. She was kind of like Ray Allen's mom. So that was something as well. This series again got very chippy, very dirty, and things along those lines. And that's playoff basketball. At least that's what playoff basketball should be. You don't really see that as much as of late. You'll see like cheap shots here or there, like last year in the San Antonio series. I think it was Jakob Poeltl dead-legged Jamal on the screen, and it was super dirty. And there's things like that happen here or there, but you don't really see like people going out of their way to flagrant foul
take
people,
someone out or anything like
unless
that.
It's Draymond Green.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the last game, Game 5, which was basically a blowout from the start. They kept coming back in and stuff like that, but we had control of it basically from the jump. We won 124-110. Our best player was, again, Carmelo Anthony, who I think had 30. Chauncey had 28. Nene had 17. Kenyon had 15. JR had 18. Anthony Carter had 8. Dante Jones had 8. Basically, everyone popped off that play except for Chris Anderson. He didn't score, but he did other things. And their best player was, I think, Dirk Nowitzki again with 32. Jason Kidd had 19. They put Jason Terry in the starting lineup, which they should have done before. He had 11. Howard had 14. Bass had 17. But again, it was a game where we kind of had it from the whole point on. Fourth quarter, they made it a little bit close, but then Carmelo just pops off. But that was the first time you saw us. Well, you saw it as a child, but you can now actually vividly see it. The excitement that Denver had when we went to the Western Conference Finals and how that game went. So how did that do for you like now?
Made me hungry, that's for sure. I really hope that the Nuggets can get there at some point in the future. It's cool to think about. I think I mentioned this last time too. It's cool to think about that this Nuggets team was one game away from basically being where this team was, and this is the best Nuggets team of all time, and our best player is 25.
True.
So it's cool to see how much our current team can grow into a team like this. There's a lot of things that this team had that our team needs to get. They need to get a tougher mentality, more physical mentality.
Yeah.
And they need a Chauncey. I don't know if we'll get one, but
it doesn't have to be a Chauncey's caliber, but I think a championship DNA would be nice. We don't have anyone on the team who has a championship, I don't think. The only person we did was Jordan McRae, and we got rid of him.
And we had Richard Jefferson at a point.
But Richard Jefferson did help a lot, though. He brought a lot of our mentality to be really good and stuff like that. A lot of them thank Richard Jefferson for everything he did. A lot of them thank Isaiah Thomas, even though he doesn't have championship DNA. He had a lot of playoff experience. He's got to be tough because he's tiny as fuck.
Exactly.
And then Paul helps out, too. But we need to get a new guy who has championship experience. Again, I'm going to say it. We should go and try to get Marc Gasol if there's a possibility. He'd be great. But another thing that I think this team did really well that our team didn't do is they said at the beginning of game 2, I think, we haven't lost a home game since March 9th. That's the last time that team lost a fucking home game. This team this year lost so many home games that they shouldn't have lost to bad teams, and you just can't let that happen. That's why this team got the second seed, because they didn't lose at home, and they kept that through in the playoffs too. They never lost in the playoffs until obviously the next round, but you can't stop Kobe Bryant, I guess. But like, they didn't lose at home. They protected their home court, and that obviously came from the fans. I will say, and this is no disrespect to the fans now, but I think the fans were a little bit louder back then than they are now. Now I don't know why that is, but I just firmly believe, because I was in those arenas when these games happened, that it was firmly louder than when I went to the playoffs last year. I don't know if that's because mainly people actually thought we had a chance this year compared to last year, because everyone just expected the Warriors to win no matter what. I don't know what it was, but I will put that out there, and that's no disrespect to us. It's definitely a thing I noticed.
I think that has something to do with it, and I think it also has to do with the fact that like last year was our first year, and that a lot of people kind of basically just kind of forgot about the Nuggets a little bit over the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help when the Broncos win a lot.
And the Broncos won the Super Bowl in the last 5 years. I think a lot of people kind of like started forgetting about the Nuggets, and I think they're well on their way to earning that kind of trust and commitment back. They just got to keep going.
Yeah, and hopefully it helps. And I think a lot of it too came from the fact that we also had a hometown hero on the team. I feel like that story is always a good story to have. When you have a guy who grew up in Colorado, went to the University of Boulder, and then comes back here to help us win a championship, wearing John Elway's number in honor of John Elway, even though he changes it the next year because he's like, okay, I want my number 1 back. But he does that for John Elway, so I think everyone was like, okay, this is a good story, feel-good story, and that's why they were a little bit louder. But, I mean, from this game on, just seeing how they reacted, seeing how they played, and Carmelo said it himself, too, in the post-interview. He's like, they asked him, what did Chauncey bring to this team? And he's like, he's a leader. He does everything I should have done, basically.
Yeah.
He was like, he can do all the stuff that I don't want to do, and I can just be me. And that was the main reason. And you got to get someone who can do all the things Jokic doesn't really want to do and can let Jokic be Jokic. And I'm hoping it's MPJ, not for leadership, but for scoring. Jokic's biggest downfall is sometimes he doesn't shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this, like, Carmelo definitely takes a lot of bad shots.
Yeah.
But he takes shots because he's supposed to take 20 shots a game. At least he always took 20 shots a game. Now, were they always good? No. But he did what he had to do because he was the best player. Jokic doesn't always do that, and he needs to because he is our best player. And it's just frustrating when he doesn't. So I'm hoping MPJ turns into that guy who is our scorer, who gets buckets. But again, we're a couple years away from that. He has a lot of room for improvement, especially on the defensive side of things. And who knows if anyone's practicing right now, so that definitely is not helping his development if he doesn't have a hoop at home.
Yeah, it's weird to think about.
So everyone's kind of screwed for the developmental phase. But, I mean, overall, I had a blast watching this series, especially watching Prime Dirk. He's amazing. I highly suggest anyone go back and watch either these games or his highlight clips because he has the most beautiful jump shot I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's crazy to watch.
It's literally like a perfect arc that it sometimes doesn't even touch the net. It just goes straight through that fucking hole.
It just goes straight in. It's so accurate and so consistent. It's crazy.
It's such a beautiful shot. But yeah, I mean, overall, great series, great win. We won in 5. We've only lost 2 games up to this point. And then we go on to face, obviously, the Los Angeles Lakers, who were the favorites the whole year. From the start of the year to this point, they were the favorites with the Boston Celtics, but the Boston Celtics got hurt. KG gets hurt in the other conference in the second round, so the favorites from the East becomes LeBron, even though he blows it. And Dwight Howard makes it. But yeah, so we're fighting the favorites. This was basically the next series was the finals at this point. Because everyone knew whoever won out of the West was going to beat either one of those Eastern Conference teams just because they had more talent. Mm-hmm. So it was a big series. They were the favorites. Kobe Bryant, obviously, probably the best player in the league at the point. So we did our best. Everyone knows how it goes, but we're still gonna watch it.
We'll watch it. It'll be a little less optimistic.
It'll be frustrating for me, especially because it still hurts to this day. I will do my best to watch it and see Kobe Bryant fuck us with his underbite, because that's what happens all the time. Also, Kenyon Martin fucking blows it, so you're gonna hear a fucking rant on the next one.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, gosh,
it's bad.
I just hear that Kenyon Martin is just like an idiot throughout this entire series. So
he just sucks. He can't guard Paul Gasol. It's bad. But any last thoughts, Phil, before we move on and end the podcast?
I don't think so.
Alrighty. Well, that's everything for us, guys. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks with the LA review and talking about the MJ documentary. But in the meantime, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and also this podcast might now be up on Spotify and iTunes. I'm still figuring out the details, but I'm going to try to put it up on there. And if I did, the links will be in the description, so you can now listen to it on those platforms as well. But give me a moment with those. It might be this one, it might be the next one. It's going to happen at some point. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Stay safe. Go Nuggets.